Okay, this is Micheal Tellinger. And I've been getting a lot of people saying, you just got to get a hold of Micheal Tellinger. He's been talking about the Giants on a couple different shows recently. And I do know Micheal. We've corresponded back and forth a few times, talking about doing a show. And we probably should. He was the first one that I found that knew anything about Giants. And I saw this footprint picture many years ago as I was first getting into the mud fossils. And then, 3 or 4 years ago, we made contact because he found petrified hearts and all kinds of things on his property. And I was really about the only one that knew anything about mud fossils. And then he started to investigate them now. And here's my fingertip right here. And I have them all over my property. I'm in a special place. All of these stones are different body parts. I mean, it's just absolutely incredible. And that is the fingernail of this 3-foot-long fingertip. That's just a fingertip 3 feet long. And I also have the grip skin, which is the fingerprints that I broke off of here. Right on the edge of your fingernail starts your fingerprints. Let me show you that. Now this is the actual fingerprints off of that giant fingertip. And Micheal's making some statements about Stonehenge and some other things. That, you know, this is what science is. I have a different opinion of a few things. He's talking about millions of years old. I don't go with that. You know, and that sarsen stone being a certain type of stone, I don't go with that. It's body flesh, and that's sarsen stone right there. And it is hard as hell. This is it right here. And it's a hard stone, but it's flesh. And there's a lot we need to discuss in an open format where we can go back and forth. No disrespect to anybody. It's just that this is a brand new world we live in right now. Everything in science is wrong. I mean, 100% wrong. Your history is absolutely wrong. Geology, completely, totally wrong. Light, I can accelerate light. And I can see the photons and we can see the particles and all that stuff. So none of that stuff is right either. And I know Micheal goes into all that stuff. So we can have a fabulous big conversation on everything. And that's what I'd like to do. So, but again, you know, I'm going to have some different opinions than everybody else. It's just, there's no way, you know, I'm not going to agree with virtually anybody. Just to agree with them. I'm going to bring out the things that I say. Here's what I feel, and here's what they feel. Now, let's just continue on with our thing. Because I think maybe even some of his stone circles may relate to some of the mud fossil stuff that I'm just showing you now. Okay, I know Micheal talks about physics and all that stuff too. I have a completely new model that replaces the standard model because I can see these two particles, which they found at Fermilab. This is Fermilab. These are big shots, and they say that there's two particles, a point-like particle, which is this one, and a fixed particle. I found them both, no question whatsoever, and here they are. This is from light. This is the pictures from Fermilab. Here's what we found in the photons. So I have a whole new interpretation. I think we can get free energy. But we need to be able to discuss this. And Micheal may be interested in discussing that too. But again, I have a different take. Light is a particle. That's the particle right there. And it creates a wave because its magnetic field has to force ahead of its particle and create the wave. So I have a whole different approach, but I can show all these things. I'm a material scientist. I don't make claims that I can't back with evidence. And even like my mud fossils, they're all DNA tested, CAT scan, and all that stuff. So I'm pretty accurate about the statements I make, and I just need to be able to discuss them. And the only one I can talk to them about right now is my friend Augustus Caesar. He's a goose. Mud fossil. You know, just when I think I can't be freaked out or more than I am right now, something comes and freaks me out more. I got this morning from my very good friend Pedro. Pedro, thanks, buddy. He was with NASA and European Space Agency, and apparently he gets all kinds of things sent to him from wherever. But he's been an absolutely fabulous source of information. Now, what do we see here? What is this? What is going on there? What are these little lines going up and down between these two border regions? And what's this little bally looking stuff up in here? Right. And then down here, what's this little round things with these little tails on them? Down here, same thing. This is, I can tell you exactly what's going on. This is interstitium, which is the balls in the skin of your body that can stretch and come back and forth, and that's the outer layer of skin. This is the membrane that keeps you protected from invasion. Directly below the membrane is what's called, well, I'm calling it now the immunothelium, which is right in this area is where all the bacteria grows that protects you. And then below that you have a layer of interstitium which lets you stretch and move. So you really have two layers. One is your outside skin that's right on the surface. When you're young it moves nice. But when you get older it gets really wrinkly, but that's it right there. And these are the anchors that pull it back and forth. Down in here is where the flesh is. Same thing though, anchors and balls and straps. Right in between the two is the immunothelium. That's where the bacteria, they call it an interstitial highway, interstitium. All right, remember I showed you those two lines and then they had these things coming down? That was the membrane. All right, and then you had the interstitium balls above and below basically, and then that like fluidy area that had a little, I'll show you now. This is my good friend Tyson, Tyson's Mud Fossil Adventures. He's got a gigantic thing he's been working on here for a few years. We've been working on it together. And that's the bottom layer right there. They put campfires in here and sit around on these membranes. That's one of these little curlicue things. 6 feet above here is the top membrane. And then there's all these things, and then just below this is all the interstitium balls. And we work this thing regularly together. You want to see something that's going to blow your mind? You see these little holes here? You see this thing? Ask a geologist how that happened. Oh, that was lava, plate tectonics, gabba, gabba, gabba. Oh, watch this. I'm pretty sure what we're looking at is these little balls that are in the side of the membrane. That's a membrane laying sideways. One side had something, some kind of flesh, and the other side had some other kind of flesh. You see this? Look carefully. That's these little things that go up in between. Whatever flesh was here is a little different than whatever's here. And that's not volcanic eruption with a transition zone or anything. Absolutely not. And here's those little tiny holes right here. And then there's another set of them down below here. Here's some more. And they were all over the place on this thing. But it's in this little blocks of strips that ran across. And that's what allowed stuff to get back and forth. And here and there you can see a little red blood. All right, here's Tyson again in that similar area there. These are one of the tendon enthesis balls, and there's a strap sticking out of it. This is in some kind of fleshy clay, it looks like to me. Skin or something. Alright, here's the whole thing in one shot. As I showed you before, the interstitium, all those little balls, and these straps all over, and there was, right up here is a membrane layer. They don't even show it because it's so small. Below that is a layer of what's called the interstitial highway right there. That white layer is what lets all the fluids run through your body. Now, below that is the anchors that lets your body come back to where it's supposed to. And there's a membrane in here. I showed you all that. Well, what is this right here? It's exactly what this is over at Huntington Cliffs or something, Huntington Beach over United Kingdom. And it's just a big chunk of flesh with that mucosa running across the top, skin or whatever it was. And below that is the membrane. Well, it's interstitium. But if you look real careful, that right at the very, very edge there, hold on. Let me get my pointer here. If you could see that right there, that is the fluid-filled highway that barricades you from invasion. That's the interstitial, that white layer I showed you. Now, all these walls keeps your skin coming back where it's supposed to. Now, they eroded out here in the desert. They're not just in the oceans. They're not just next to the oceans. Tyson just happens to be on the ocean where they're eroding away. You can see them easily. In the desert, they eroded for some other reason. I can't tell you why. But right in this area also is all kind of mud, same as the mud here. So there must have been some kind of major watery movement there. Let's put it that way. Now, what is this up here? This is the actual body tissue. You see all those little balls? Those are those balls. You can stretch all around, and way down here, as you keep getting lower and lower and lower into the tissue, they anchor with these little straps. Exactly what I showed you before. See this, the first thing it's showing is this right here, and this is a blow up of that. Well, right below the interstitial, into the immunothelium layer, is the interstitium. And they really didn't know much about this until just 2018. So, sort of a new world in this area. And certainly for the mud fossils, we can see them. I just showed you exactly what you're looking at there. Tyson has it there all over the earth, and there's no mystery now here. The mystery is why will it not be spoken of in virtually any circle. All right, don't forget, we're talking interstitium, we're talking membranes, we're talking immunothelium, we're talking interstitium balls again, straps, the whole 9 yards. Well, let's see where it came from. I'm backing out, I'm backing out, I'm backing out. You see this chemistry? When you see colors like that, that's not just accidental chemistry. All right? You see where this is coming from? That's just one big gigantic blood vessel or something. And so was that. You see the layering in here? You see that layering? And this is down at 512 feet, and up here we're at 532 feet. So it drops 20 feet down into there. And I'm seeing red blood here, it looks like to me. Anyway, and you see the green? Whenever you see red blood, you usually see a lot of green around it. Let this settle in for a second. You see how red, the green is around here? That is very indicative of arterial blood. All right, now the other one must be the vein. And that's this interstitial, or this could be a heart. I don't know. I have no idea. But I can tell you what, this is where it was right here. The place they were talking about is right over here. You see that? Now they were showing the colors changing, and we could see it changing too. If you look carefully and you take your time, you can see this is not just a runoff of this and that. It's a merging of different chemistry. You see how green that is? That is because there's some kind of I would say this is bloody area here somewhere, or at least it could be poop. It could very well be poop. I don't know. But it's all collecting something and running out into the ocean. Out of this area here. This is some kind of biology. I don't know exactly what it is. But whenever you see all these different colors changing here and there, and just all of a sudden popping up, they say, oh, that's just algae. Well, yeah, but the algae is living on the chemistry that is in that area. And the chemistry of certain biology, I can absolutely guarantee you, grows different types of vegetation. You know how I can guarantee you? Because I'll show you. On a dragon in the United States. All right? You want to see why I can make this statement 100% for certain? You see what that's a dragon. That's a dragon right there. That's his head. Comes around. His feathers go up there because this is Quetzalcoatl. His body comes and wraps right around here. You see this? Runs all the way up the East Coast. And there's his feathers here. He was the feathered serpent. You see him? Like a duck. It goes all the way up the East Coast. And these are feathers up here. Those are feathers. Those aren't just hills and valleys. Those are actually feathers. Now, when I said certain types of body tissue create certain types of chemistry, which creates certain types of colors, yes, absolutely. You see this? Those feathers ran out right here. That's some kind of collagen, or it had some kind of nourishment that made things run nice and green. And it was like fluty, but then it's just the end of them. And then it turned whatever happened up here was happening. I don't know what it was. But on his head, it's very, very apparent. Now, you see this color? Well, that's because it's growing on scales or something. And where do you see around his nose and all that? They all had a nose that had a big bump on the front and it came up around. And here's his beard. I would like to see somebody look into that beard and see what that's made of, this stuff here. Because that's the beard that ran out of his throat. And I say those things are a little bit toxic. I believe, because the one in the desert in Africa was making some really nasty stuff. Now, you see? Now, maybe this one's got some good stuff coming out of it because it's growing real green in that area around it. Now, but the head is not. And you see this, all this squirrely looking, snaky looking river? That's his throat. All that stuff runs down through his body. All the way down into his throat. And then all the way down, around, and up into his guts and all that. It's a little obscured, but it's in there. See, now, again, I've shown the feathers that I have here. I suppose I should show them to you again. Now, I believe he's spitting out this stuff out of him, because the same thing happened to the one in Africa. He's got all spit coming out of him and nasty stuff. And this looks like it might be nasty. Let's look first at his head feathers. All right, I showed you the other feathers. Now, this is coming right out of his head. And here's those really green-looking feathers again. You see it? And they come all the way up to about here, and that's it. They stop. So that's the feathers coming out of his head. And it looks like there's more back here. I can't be certain. Might be a whole crest, I don't know. But he's spitting something out, right out of here. You see this? That's all coming right out of his throat. And where's it going? It's going into the Gulf. Right here. Now, is that something that he spit out? I don't know. It looks like it to me. Now, what does it look like when we get over to here? I don't really know if it's something he spit out or not. I really don't know. But this part looks real wrinkly. And this, to me, looks like some kind of biology. when you see all these little arms and things sticking out, that's like an anchor ball or something there. That's how I would take it. Now, or I don't know, I really don't know what it is. But all of this stuff is here. Now, I see it over here too, something similar over here. So I'm not seeing, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's something he's spitting out or that's just the nature of this particular region around here. Could be either way. But I don't see anything right in this area here until you get out here. Now this depth is minus 2745. This is only minus 160. So this falls off deeply here. It'd have to be looked at, but I can tell you what, that's Quetzalcoatl, and he runs all the way up the East Coast, somewhere up into, I believe, Canada, all the way down to the Gulf. That's a good-sized creature. All right, now Greg Morrison did the research on the East Coast dragon, and he actually got some feathers. I'll show you in a second. This is what they had in the codexes that they burnt, basically, most of them. Some of them were preserved, and this is what they showed is what his feathers look like. Now watch this. That's just what the feather patterns are, and they're all over that East Coast as I showed you. Now, watch this. Look at this. Here's what he looks like. There's the feathers coming out of his head, see? And I said it might be a whole crest, because it might be all the way back to here. It's kind of hard to tell. But here's his beard. You see the beard? Remember I talked about the beard? I'd like to know about that. And here he is eating somebody. So they were eating people, the Quetzalcoatl. Now, this is kind of hard to understand, because how big would the person be? I mean, it'd have to be hundreds of miles tall, hundreds and hundreds of miles tall, to be that big for the thing to have his mouth around it. A lot of stuff doesn't make sense, but I see what I see. All right, I don't know if you could see that, but that's a person's body, and Quetzalcoatl's eating him. And if he's that big, how you know, nothing makes sense. I got to be honest with you, but it's here. All right, and again, Greg Morrison went and found this on the side of the road, and it's a feather, and it looks like a turkey feather. It's got the same color on both sides. You see that? Basically the same as this, and then it's a feather in between. I mean, that's a good sized feather. All right, and that's the only reason it could have the same color on both sides like that. It's a piece of this feather. And he broke it right off of there and sent it to me. This is somewhere up on, and I don't know if this is the full size feather or this is like a little tiny feather from a smaller, gigantic feathered thing. I'm telling you, it's so bizarre now, I don't know what to think anymore. All I can do is report on what we have discovered as our own independent research group now. All right, we want to be spoken. We don't want to be spoken about. We want to speak to the people that are telling all the kids what to believe, and just say, can we discuss this? That's what I've been asking for many, many years now. And I don't think this is right to continue on this way. And there's a lot of people who agree now. And I think there's going to be a general discussion about this, I hope, sooner or later. And I see it happening now. And everybody's telling me, oh, don't worry, it's happening now, it's happening now. I said, well, I've been hearing that for 10 years. So if you don't start saying something, nothing will be said. You know, I'm going to leave it at this. This is really just astounding. The people that believe in God and Jesus and afterlife and hell and all that have a very, very solid foundation in their life, which I am not here to change. Because I'm going to tell you what I have found has brought me to Jesus Christ as the Savior of our souls. All right, this is hell on earth, and it is, and for some people it is hell on earth, absolutely. And then, if somehow they can weather that, with some kind of grace. Apparently, I don't know. You're being tested, I think. I don't know. But I can tell you what. I have no greater joy than to hear that my children walk in truth. Truth requires conversation. Conversation is uncomfortable sometimes. You see things like giants and dragons and all that, but every bit of that was written about in the Bible. Now, the other thing is, I have no greater joy than to hear that my children walk in truth. That's what they say from academia. You people should be all in truth. They refuse to engage because it damages their truth. They are so divided and polarized now away from the actual honest truth that there is no truth left that's accepted. There's no truth that is accepted. There's truth. I've shown you the truth. Now, you either accept it or you don't. Just like what's going on now with this disaster with our country, the United States. People just deny the truth. Absolutely, who cares? A liar is a liar. A fraud is a fraud. And we have them just coming out of our ears since this January 6th thing or whatever it was. And it's a disaster. The people that did what they did should be held accountable. I'm going to leave it at that. But everybody turns their eyes away from truth now. It doesn't matter. Truth has no meaning anymore. It's just unbelievable to me. I had never expected what I had found from either side, from any side. So, vayos con Dios, amigos. I love you all.